Why? Let's see, sources, audio. The keep alive sound was dead. Oops. Hello. All right.
Source Guns subscribed at tier 1. They've subscribed for 47 months. And says Dussidudens. Well, that was an interesting starting card to the stream. End of line.
Taters Games, thank you for the tier 1 sub there, and for 47? 8.
Can subscribe at tier 1.
Yeah.
They've subscribed for 45 months. And says, yeah. End of line.
Spooky, thank you for the tier 1 sub, and if I just take out 2 for the 45 months, I appreciate that. Okay.
20 raiders from Belgium have joined. End of line.
Ben and Raiders, hello and welcome. All right, today we're doing more CD Robot Dev.
Subscribed at tier 1. They've subscribed for 41 months, currently on a 41-month streak. And says 41 becomes 40 becomes 39 becomes etc. 5 becomes 4 becomes 3 becomes 2 becomes 1 becomes nothing by your command.
Final Kadeve, thank you for the tier 1 sub and for 41 months.
They've subscribed for 27 months. And says thanks. End of line.
Philip, thank you for the tier 1 sub and for 27. Oh, I gotta do that on one hand. 27 months. I appreciate that. All right. What have I done to the workbench? I did work. What do you think? And I have done work that we're not doing anything with here, so we're still not touching this. We're going back over to the computer to do software. So. Yeah, we're not touching this, no matter what kinds of fun things have happened.
100-I think it might be time to perform the monthly desk arm sweep into a large box. End of line.
Not with my Samsung 172 here. But yes, so, is the stream quiet? No, it's you. It's not me. Because my audio level over here is reaching the yellow area, and I can't see it over there. I'm pretty sure it's you. So, all right. Yeah. So here's the deal. We're going to work on the boop doop doo CD robot software stuff, all right? But I don't really know exactly what our goals are here. This is a little bit nebulous. So here's what I want to do. I want to take some of what we learned from last weekend, where we created the Python asynchronous web interface that can do stuff with a database, and I want to try and connect that to the CD robot and see what we can do with that. Now, this is going to get more complicated by a lot. So we're just going to start out to see what we can do and how this will work, because I want to start assessing the scope of this project so that we know what I'm in for with doing this, because there's a lot of moving parts to this. So let's head over there and see what all is going to be taking time, because, oh boy. Well, all right. Oh, it's such a bad delay with the RTMP, man. Okay.
Redshift subscribed at tier 1. They've subscribed for 45 months. And says scope creep is mandatory. End of line.
Well, the scope creep is the reason that we're doing this. So, yeah. But thank you, Redshift, for the 45 months. That was 45 months. I appreciate that. Of tier 1 sub. All right. Oh boy. So many things. So let me start out with this. So we have the CD robot. All right. This is one component. The CD robot and the webcam are different devices, really. The webcam's kind of connected to the robot, but you know what's not? The Caesar, which I have finally set up where it realistically should have been set up the whole time, so that I can just use it here, because I want to use this for taking images of, and this is just the closest one that's nearby me, jewel cases, as we empty them to put into there. So the idea is jewel case goes under the Caesar, which is under the webcam, and then take the photo, put the disk in the bin, and then load the stuff. Now, the webcam, or the Caesar being used for that, is the newest addition to this and was completely hacked in last moment. The way that it works is by having an independent script take a photo and then put it in a temp directory, and then every time you add a new media sample, you look in the directory for any photos and then add them to it. It's not very elegant. So, I would like to make this a first-class feature. We're still probably gonna have to do something along the lines of, I don't know, just a photo full of temp files, images, or whatever. So I'm not sure how we're gonna handle that. But yeah, it's going to be kind of weird. So, all right. Oh, I've had that happen before, Sanity. Yeah, you're just going to have to refresh the page. Yeah, that gets broken sometimes. All right. So, this is what we were working on last weekend. I may have touched this a little bit, but in the end, I determined that I didn't want to do anything. I was going to try and structure it to be class-based, but then I realized there were reasons to not do that, so I went back, which was annoying. To have someone in the next room with a VR headset on manually controlling the operations of it, yeah. Starting to feel like it's going to be that complicated. All right, so let's grab this code and run it here just to make sure it all works. We're going to have to install Quart here. Get Chloe. Oh boy, it's one of those days. PyThread already exists. Oh, I guess we started it here, didn't we? Let's see, git pull. All right, wow, that's a lot of changes since last time. Let's see, sudo apt, no, pip 3 install quart. Break everything, break. I don't think you can do it after, so let me clear this and do it before. Break system packages. Okay, that's not how you spell packages. All right. It's fine here today. I don't know. It often actually read things you show. I'm surprised that your monitor was the limiting factor, not the stream quality. Was it sub 1080p? All right. Alrighty. Catching up here a little bit. Okay. Oh, it downloads Hypercorn automatically. Interesting. Hypercorn is the non-debug version of Quart, essentially. I'm going to get some water. I can already tell my throat's going to be cranky. I'll be back in just a second here. Well, Megastar, you know a desert doesn't retain cloud cover, so it gets extremely cold here, right? It's just dry. It's a dry cold. All right, so let's run this. Demo, is that it? All we got to do? Yeah, okay, so first off, I'm running this in a slightly different way now. I forget. Oh, this is running in the async method. Instead of as a process. So it works slightly differently, but not significantly. So, if you weren't here last weekend, let me explain what this is. This is purely a software test. So this is just to make sure that I understand how asynchronous Python code works and how I can use it for other tasks. So this is an SQL server front end to let's just call it an IRC chat emulation. All right. So I can type in a username here, and then I can type in something to say over here. And if I send it, then it gets sent. But we haven't joined a channel. So if we join, I don't know, the Star Trek channel. All right. Boom. Now we're only talking in the Star Trek channel. So we can say, Taval is the best. No, not Taval, T'Pol. T'Pol is the best Vulcan. All right. Boom. And then we have our message in the Star Trek channel. Then if we go back to another one, like the Star Wars channel, all right, that message goes away. And then we could say, the Phantom Menace is the best car chase movie. Boom. And now we have it in that channel. Don't join the Star Trek channel. It's full of Trekkies and Trekkers fighting it out. But then we can go back to here. Star Trek, it would load that channel, boom, and we see that. Now, I can duplicate this tab, and we have a second client. This client could also join the Star Trek channel, and they could have username number 2, and then they could send, Tuvix is the best Vulcan. And then they can, I don't know why it sent it twice, that's curious. But then they can duke it out there. So this is just meant to show simultaneous connections and WebSocket updates. So that's essentially all this is. So why is adding the room name to the message with no space? Because it's just a test program, and I was just making it print the room name, that way you can see it. Because if you join the unnamed channel, then it shows null or undefined or whatever. It's not meant to be good software. It's just meant to get the idea across. So that's that is how that works. The moderator kicks them both. Yeah. So internally, this code is not ridiculous. Open with Spider 6? What is Spider? Oh, that's one of them Python things I installed. That's right. All right. Okay. So this is starting the software, the web interface, using Async IO instead of a process. And I created 2 entry points for the app. You can either get a process and start that, or you can get the normal app run as a task that can be loaded in a system level event loop. Now, we had somewhere around here, I don't know where the file went, the plan for this. There we go. It's literally the file that's in there called plan. You know, I love how it asked me, do you want to save this? And I say no, and then it just asked me to save it anyway. Anyway, this was the plan. So the idea was that Flask and main would have separate event loops. I see literally no reason to do that. So we're going to incorporate those together. So that's going to be a thing. So that's the idea. So when we start the program, it'll start Flask up, and then it'll start listening for web things to happen. And then we're going to write this to the database and then just disconnect. It will never need to communicate directly from Flask to any other elements of the code. That's the idea. So what I want to do today is just try communicating to the CD robot, through the database to just say like load a disk or something. So our parameter models, game dynamically stores the size of the first UV block after reading it. Has a server address plus another bytes, get 2 channels on with. That is ridiculous. All right. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, there's a problem here, okay? Where does the Caesar go? So we can initiate a photo with Flask, the web interface, and then it would just get stored in the file system. So TMP, all right? So I'm pretty sure this is how this will have to work. And then the controller can read from TMP. But there's not a lot of other options. Yeah, that sounds super annoying. I forget what I was doing that had something like that. The Blackmagic Raw decoder is very much like that, where there's a lot of weird nonsense you got to do with manipulating the data to get the different channels out. That's somewhat similar. Anyway, so I think for the Caesar, yeah, excuse me, do this, and then we will, yeah, that's a pain. Let's do this. Let's start out by creating a web application that takes images using the Caesar and then displays them in the web front end, and then has a button that you can click that basically adds an item to the queue, and then we make a fake controller that doesn't actually control the robot, that just clears all the images, or maybe just moves them to a new folder. So essentially we make a program that just takes pictures, and then we make another thing that just moves them to a folder timestamp named. Yeah. So let's do that. That will test a lot of this, actually. You know what? We'll even have it to be where you have to put in a name, and then that's how that works. So the name would be simulating inputting a media sample, and then it adds all of the photos to that. So yeah, let's do that. I feel like maybe tying the camera to the web front end is a bad idea, but I don't know what other options there are. There's also the question of, should the Caesar be plugged into the computer that controls the robot, or should it be plugged into the computer that has the web client loaded on it? Because I could have it be where you just take a picture using the web interface, just access the camera directly, which would be better if I were, say, loading the thing from my phone. But I don't think I'm ever gonna do that. So I don't know if I want to bother trying to account for that. Depending on how, if I set this up this way, I think I could add that later without having to worry about it. So maybe we don't concern ourselves with that right now. Yeah. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make our picture taking test that gets moved to a folder that happens in a separate thing. Yeah. Okay. We'll do this in the thread test still. Eventually, we're going to have to make a new branch of the PyDescript software and then work on it there, but I don't think we're there yet today, at least. All right, demo, util. Let's make a photo taking class. And by make, I mean import from the existing code I have. Because it sucks. So camera, let me just, I'm going to plug the Caesar in over here, and then we're going to try and run that and see what it looks like. Just make sure that that works. I think it won't, because I think this is set up for the webcam. Yeah, we need to do the MPEG stuff. Media photo, I think that's it. Yeah, so we get rid of the frame info and then set this to JPEG. So clear that and then JPEG. Boom. I think that works. Hold on, cam open. This video capture. Okay, yeah, so we do all that, and then we have to disable the byte swapping as well. So we just boom. Yeah. Okay, so let's try this. Just make sure it works. Camera. Should take a picture of my keyboard. Boom, perfect. Okay. Man, that goes so far back up. How close is that to the base? Very. Okay, that's, yeah, good to know. All right. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah, so a button to delete the photo, that's the kind of thing that I definitely want. So we're going to have something like that too. But so here's the rough idea of what I'm thinking. This is GIMP. All right. So we'll probably keep the majority of the PyDescript layout the same. So over, why does it gotta be that? So over here, it's still gonna be the queue, okay? Except that'll be populated in a less stupid way. Over here, will still be the media sample. So there'll be a photo here, blah, 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 then blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then the next one, blah, 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 blah. So I guess this would be blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then we have the input area over here. So previously we just had name, input, you know, media type, input, whatever. So I think this is the area where it's going to have to change the most, because I don't think we want to change any of that. And then up here we have the per drive information, which seems like it makes the most sense. So that's all kind of read only over there. So basically we could click one of them buttons that like runs along the side. It's got the little arrow thing. It says, hey, pop this out like that. Boop. There we go. Like if you drag this over, I thought you could hide that, but apparently not. So one of them buttons where you just like click that and then the thing pops open and you got the whole menu. So up top, I think we have a scrollable menu. All right. That has multiple photos in it that the user will be able to scroll through, and then there'll be a little X option up top to delete them. And then down below, we have the metadata entry area for the stuff, because we need to be able to see and modify the images. So I think like iframe, horizontal scroll or whatever, it's definitely not going to be an iframe. That'd be stupid, but something like that where you can see all of the images, scroll through them, and then delete them. And then there's just going to be a big old button down here that says picture. You click that, boom, boom, and then it takes another picture and adds it to there. Or future version, there's button here and then button here, and this is take picture with mounted camera, or upload photo, or take it from your webcam or whatever that's connected to your web client. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, although I don't really like how this integrates. So I don't know, but we could, that's kind of the rough idea. So for right now, I just want to like have the images show up here. And then as soon as I click like submit right here, then they go away. That's basically all we're going to do at the moment. So, this works. Let's look at this, grab this code. So copy all of this. You're choosing to design this by hand. I mean, I would never use stupid AI garbage for this, so yeah, you're safe. I can even phrase that more generally. I would never use stupid AI garbage for all right. Let's create a file. UVC photo .py. All right, util, refresh. Boom. Okay. So now I need this to be procedural. So we're going to make a function that wraps this. We're going to basically input our camera information and then output the file, or the image to a file, I think. So let's do that. Let's call this def get underscore photo. All right. We can import all that before this. Okay. UVC underscore ID equals 0, just because why not? Okay. Now, we are not setting a resolution on this. I think it's just coincidentally 1080p. So that part kind of sucks. There's no way to set it here without doing this. And for some reason, the capture set format doesn't work on the Caesar. which is kind of annoying. So yeah, image format, compress, pixel format, MJPEG. So like I couldn't figure out a way of setting this directly here. If I demonstrate this, so we can just try this really quick. Do this, grab that, do this, do this, do that, and then just get rid of that. And go up here, get rid of this comma that we haven't implemented yet. Put this here, boom. Okay, so now I can do chmod plus x UVC photo, and it will error on a thing that I didn't expect it to error on. Line 17. Well, why didn't you like do the thing with the stuff? For control and values, print control, fine. Why did it replace that there? Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. Invalid syntax, get photo. You and your picky want your syntax to be correct. Okay. So, MJPEG, I mean, it took it, but now it should look insane. Well, that's weird. It's actually weird for a couple of reasons. Why is the image farther down? There's stuff missing. How much if I get rid of the crop? Also, why is setting the format to YUVY whatever thing working, but then interpreting it as JPEG working? I don't understand what's going on there. Looks sane? Yeah, that's the problem. I don't understand how it looks sane. And that's the... Oh, 1080p is cropped sensor. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So if I get rid of that, what do we get? $1920, $1080. Where's it setting the size? Right there. What happens if I don't set this? I think I have to set that. All right, screw it. Let's just looking at it in OBS. See what options we get. Oh, that's fancy, Telencroft. Okay, YU12, interesting. Input, camera 10, sure. Okay, resolution. Well, that seems slightly high. Perhaps too high. Okay, that one works. That one works. That one works. That one works. That one, it's struggling. I'm surprised that one works. And then that one it dies on. I wonder if that's like too much bandwidth. Motion JPEG. Oh. It got a frame out. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I can get one. Oh, there. Oh, it almost worked. It was almost happy. 51. Oh, screw it. Let's try it. Now I'm curious. 51, 04, 38, 28, 38, 28. All right. And then we do this. Okay. Ugh. Hold on. Let me make it less cranky. What is that going to look like? Is it going to work? Huh. That is kind of cool. That might be slightly awesome. Random numbers. Yeah, no kidding. What a random number. You can see the sharpening that drives me nuts on the Caesar, but that seems kind of sweet. I'm kind of impressed in the color that it's picking up in the keyboard. That's working really well. What's my phone want eBay-wise? We're not likely to use Droid Cam today anyway. What do you want, phone? Ooh, a thing was delivered. Okay. Well, for giggles, let's assume we're going to support this. Because if in reality, I'm going to use the highest resolution I can. So we're going to want to have the option to set, it's just a slim thing, DZAC. It's not going to change a whole lot. That was the only thing that was left in Flux anyway. Ugh. Anyway, what was I going to say? Where'd the CD case full of jewel cases go? Put it over there. Why did I put it over there? All right, let's just do this. Boom. So let's say I do a picture. I did this here. Why did I do it there? All right, so it's going to grab a still. Boom. So that is, we would push the button to turn off the overhead lights, and then I will snap on the rear ones after I pick out whatever is stuck in the magnets. Huh? Hold on, it's an NES game. There we go. Oh, you tap the back. It's been a while. I completely forgot. Okay, let's retake that without the overhead light. So that would look like this. And yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, there's no black outline on that in real life or around the crow. Thanks, Caesar, for really aggressive sharpening. But that's going to be pretty good. The first 4X. The second 4X has the optimal solution. Do they actually eject floppies? Not sure what you mean. This is for CDs. Anyway, yeah, that's going to look really good. Man, a human looks normal by comparison to this. That looks like cartoons. Anyway, yeah, looking forward to that. Okay. So we can make... Yeah, we can get really high resolution images. For giggles, hold on. We're gonna take one more picture. It's now Now we're at the point where we're just screwing around, I guess. Can you read all of the MPPA stuff on the back? Oh, that's pretty close. That's not bad. I mean, consider how small all of that is. Okay. Yeah, we need to be able to support arbitrary image resolutions. Okay, let's figure out how we want to do this. So, we're going to do image. You're just not to stop copying you. Okay, I will, sorry.
Subscribe with Prime. They've subscribed for 17 months. End of line.
WebHDX, thank you for the Prime sub and for 17 months of hanging out. I appreciate that. Now I got Dead Souls stuck in my head. Let's see. Photo. Color equal gobbledygook. Say photo 0. Although, let me just copy this, put it down here. Photo equal. Zero. Photo 1. And then crop. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let crop be one of two things. So we'll start out with, we're going to have crop be 3 different options. If crop equals, boom, then continue? No. Print not cropping. Elif len crop equal to, okay, they provided only 2 values, then we will assume they want to crop to the center. So we will do math. Ugh. This divided by 2 minus crop 0 divided by 2. I've come to the realization this morning that I could add a sneeze, cough, mute, whatever button to this by just having it mute OBS. I don't know why I got so hung up on it being the ATEM, but I could totally do that. The downside is that I'm pretty sure you want a mute, cough, sneeze, hold button, whatever, to be push to mute and then release to unmute. This cannot do that. So, not sure how I want to do that yet. It might not be too difficult to do that. Just have a an action for on click and on release are separate. I don't know, but I'll have to make an API for that. But I think that's how you would want to do that. Okay, so top would be all of this, but replace with ones. 1, 1. And this would just be the crop size, crop 0, crop 1. Okay. And then if crop equal 4, then it's full specification. Photo plus / minus crop divided with... This math's better in my head, sorry. I like this more. So it'll be X, Y, position, and then size. Actually, that is still 1. So 3, 2, 3. Misunderstood how crop works? Yeah, so left offset, top offset, and then the width and height of the image. Keep it real, sneezing at all. It's more about how loud it can be. That's the only reason to mute. I'm a human. Things are going to happen. So, you know, that part's not something I have a problem with. It being outrageously loud, that's a problem. Okay, so let's try this. So we have full size image, and then let's crop to 1000 by 1000. Let me open the existing image to get a kind of feel for it. It's a little farther down. It's 5,000 pixels across. So maybe 1500 by 1500. All right, let's try that. Perhaps you forgot a comma. No, I like no commas. They're better. Can't you tell when there's an equal sign that I'm assigning a new thing? Stupid Python. Gosh. Volume hits. Auto mute for a second. That I would not be able to tell. Expected integer. Boo. 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 Python. Oh, yeah. You don't have to declare types. Nah, it's a weakly typed language. You can just do whatever you want. Never mind the fact that you're constantly going to be casting things so that other modules and stuff are all happy. Whoa, that was pretty darn bang on. For just looking at it and going, I feel like that's pretty good. Okay, a 1500 by 1500 image is kind of ridiculous to be able to get that resolution. Even if it's like really badly manipulated, that's not bad. Let me go grab a more interesting jewel case, see what that looks like. That one will work really well. So let's try, I mean, Putt-Putt's just gonna look correct. Dragon's Lair also is just gonna look correct. There we go, Evil Knievel 3D stunt game. That one's perfect, okay. There's a lot of like airbrushed looking type stuff in here. So this one should not look flawless. So let's try this. Yeah, it looks pretty good. That'll definitely work. All right, let's look at the other one. One moment. Okay. Let's see. Condition eBay minty. So a piece of tape down to line up the corners. It will be something like that, yeah. So I'm not worried about it in the long run. This is just a test. All right, so let's see what the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 artwork is. That's not quite right, but that's not bad. Yeah, you can see how it's black. This is black around the Tony Hawk part, but then it contrast enhances it. It's such a, it's not even just sharpening. I don't even know what this would be considered. It's such a weird thing because this image, it's not gray and then with black outlines. It's just black. All of it is black. But it's almost like it overexposes so it is gray and then sharpens it so you get that. Why does it do that? It does it so that stuff like this is way easier to read because it's over sharpened. So like you can see here, this is not ridiculously sharpened. It's really hard to read that E versus the R in Neversoft. So yeah, that's why it's doing it. Like it's ridiculously easy to read all of the names around here. Artistic liberty, it's meant for archiving. Or at least scanning. Maybe not archiving. It's a thing. Anyway, pretty happy with that. That works well. Okay, so we have a function we can call where we can get a photo from a UVC device. Nah, it's not AI. It's pretty simple. Here, I can replicate this in like 30 seconds. GAMP. Boom. All right. And then I'm just going to grab pictures. What do we got here? Wiki. Dasher, crack solder. Perfect. That's fine. Whatever. Here. Boom. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to edge enhance that, but it's going to be the entire image. So first thing I'm going to do, colors, levels. I'm going to make sure, yeah, it's not all quite like that, but we're going to pretend that I did not fully expose the image like that. I'm going to go to filters, edge detect, and then we're going to do just, no, not quite that. Maybe filters, enhance, sharpen. There we go. So we can do amount and really crank it up. And then we can adjust our radius to determine how we want it. And boom, now we have a black edge around that, despite there not having been one before. Now, the thing is you can see it doing it here. This is not black, but then we get a black line around it because you can think of it as the software finds an edge, and then what it does is it stretches them away from each other so that it enhances the edge. So you see there's a bright line here and then a dark line here. And then same thing over here. Brighter line there, darker line there. It's trying to create a bigger difference between two things that exists already. So it's almost like kind of like an audio expander where you have a threshold where quiet sounds stay quiet and loud sounds get louder. But because it's a 2D plane, it works a little differently. Now, can you disable it in the Caesar? No. Which is one of the reasons why I haven't really taken another sponsorship with them, because they've asked. But I would really like to see more low-level hardware control. The image actually can't represent black. No, that's not it. No, it doesn't add it along the edge. It's purely for sharpening. Guaranteed 100% sharpening. This webcam can do the same thing. Here, actually, I'll just open the OBS preview again. I'll apply it more in real time. Here. So we can see there is sharpening in the image, especially if I zoom it in. So we can see it along this edge right here, and we can see it up in there, okay? Now what I can do is I can go into the camera settings, properties, all right? And then usually, yeah, you can mess with the sharpness amount. Holy moly, wait. Can it actually be disabled? No way. It can actually be disabled. You can't do this in the Caesar software. That's insane. I don't think it is fully disabled though, because I can still see an edge around there, and that is pure red on white. And there is definitely some distortion still going there, but no, we need to figure that out now. Yeah, that you might actually be correct, Helen Croft, that that's image or video compression. Maybe. It's hard to tell. Huh. Have they offered enough for H2R drive? No. Just look at the mat. The mat looks so much better. This looks... Okay, well. We need to figure out how to disable sharpening now. That's going to kind of suck. That's going to be some work. Export is still in Zoom It. We just kind of zoomed in the live preview. Okay, how do we change sharpening? So I'm printing all of the control values here. So we have sharpness. In theory, we should be able to do this and then change it. Sharpness. And we can set this to 0 maybe. We'll see if that takes. I don't know if it will. I think it took, possibly. So it was set to, well, let's find out. Let's just look at the image. So that's before. And after, whoa. Yeah, so definitely still some sharpness. And that's not video. It's just not fully disabled, but that's so much better. Oh my gosh. See how that would help for an alt-text document? Yes. Yeah, it does actually make it better in the right use cases. Okay. Well, here's what we're going to do. Options equal blah. For option in options dot items name, you know what, option value option value. And then we'll just set options sharpness 0. I think our maximum was 30, right? Max 15. Okay, let's just, for kicks and making sure that it actually works, try it with it set to max. And then we'll try it again after. With it being set to 0. And we're going to keep using the crow because it's so painfully obvious on the crow. I didn't expect to get hung up on the Caesar for the first half of today. Okay, so that's ultra cranked. Yeah, that 100% looks like cartoon drawing. Okay, so then we'll do it again, but this time 0. Yep, that rocks. Okay. Cool. Okay. That's a lot of annoying options to have to provide, but it's worth it. Oh, we don't have this. Ugh. Now minus 15. Yeah, it says the minimum and maximum values here. So it's not gonna, we're not gonna magically find less. Minimum is 0. It will error out if I try that. This is also how we set focus, by the way. Trying to think how I want to handle the color stuff. So there's three elements to color: the input color space, the output color space, and whether or not we byte swap it. So I don't know that I really want to add 3 more options for that. So I could just add a list that's input, output, swap as a Boolean. So color could be well, that might be fine. So color 0. So it's not my favorite solution. If color to and then color 1. Also, we're not using the photo size here. Photo 0, photo 1. We're leaving depth 8. I don't care. Color space YUV? What? I don't know what is that or why it's needed or how it works or anything. Great. What is that? We're just going to pretend that doesn't exist. I don't want to think about it. We'll also have to have an output name, but that's a different problem. All right. Okay. Output equals out photo.jpg. Okay. Yeah. All right. One last time, just make sure everything still works. Then we're going to try and incorporate this into demo. Okay. Let's make a, yeah, that worked. Okay, let's make a new thing. We'll extend chat photo.py. Okay. Photo, static, that's fine. We're going to want the WebSocket. We're going to want the WebSocket. We're going to want that. We're not going to want, well, we are going to want some other stuff. Figure that out later. Actually, this might be the first one where I wrapped the database thing. All right. Just leave all that alone for right now. Whew. All right. Before we begin any of this, let's think about the basic data flow. User loads a web page. There's no images. All right. So user clicks photo button. All right. This will do a get to an endpoint that represents that camera. I think that'll be how I want this to work. So the software will, let's do this way. Template creates one button for each configured camera. All right. User clicks and creates web endpoint to activate it. All right. So we create new routes for each one, for each camera, and then we create a get for each one. That way we could just do like a JavaScript fetch on that, and it's not even complicated because it's literally just Boolean take photo. All right. Now, or do we want to do that? Because when I make this, I mean, yeah, I want to do this. It has to be that. It could be a post, but it could just be get or post, whatever, just accessing the URL. Maybe we use a get parameter to specify it. The reason I want this is because it will allow me to connect the foot pedal to the client computer and then just tap the foot pedal to send a web query that says, hey, just take photo now. And that'll make it easier for me to do the stuff because I won't have to have the foot pedal connected to the control computer, which would just be preferable. So what'll happen is it'll do that. All right. Let's say before the template, well, user connects web socket. Okay. All clients receive updated photo list over WebSocket. All right. And then the client renders all of the photos. Client renders photos. Yeah. So this will just have an on click that does a fetch that doesn't even do anything with the data. It just grabs that endpoint to activate it, just tickles it a little bit. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So on web, we have to import everything, which kind of sucks. How do I want to do this? So this seems like one of those things where we'll have a single static configuration file. So maybe this is where we start to introduce a config.json. You know, I want to look something up. YAML. I'm not necessarily going to actually do this, but I just don't remember what the syntax difference is. Okay. So it's just Python without the braces? Is that it? It's the... By Python without the braces, I mean JSON without the braces. It's the Python version of JSON. That's what this is. I'm not sold on significant white space. Like, I am super not sold on significant white space. that ain't happening. I do like that you can have comments. That part kind of nice. Very much not sold on it being significant white space. I love when places have a floating nav bar like this, and then you click a thing that goes to an anchor, and then the floating nav bar covers the anchor. Stood for yet another markup language. YAML ain't markup language. I don't know. Blah, blah. What's it used for? Don't care. Basic syntax, arrays list, content, ordered key node, restriction that each key is unique. System sequence, literals, okay. Indentation, relies on white space. We're out. No, no more. Nope. Absolutely not. Anyone who complained about me using JSON instead of YAML for the video route code, your opinion is invalid. I don't care how much of a mess JSON is. Required white space is a crime. I hate this element of Python so much. All right. Go back to this. So from util dot any files it is in, yeah. UVC underscore photo, import get underscore photo. All right, the language server is pretty cool. All right. I think we will extend the database for this one. Although, do we even need the database for this? I don't think we do. Nah, if we just have a folder full of photos, we can just glob all of the files in that directory and then use that to build the list in RAM. Because they're files, they're not, and they're going to be put in one directory until they're utilized, then it's not that complicated. Although, let me think about this in context of the actual layout that I want here. So, take the photo, stick them there. They get rendered in the web interface until they're done, and then we click yet another button that tells the controller do some with all of these. And in this case, we're just going to move them to another folder. And that will require the trip through the database. So, okay, yeah, we do need database. DB, and we'll call this DB photo. I don't know where I'll implement these in the real project, but for right now, I'm just going to do it here. So def self, how is there a bug in here? Let's say, process photos or action. Let's figure out what the database is going to look like first. So the first table will be I guess the only thing we have to do is queue in action. Queue. So we're going to add a queue. It's going to have timestamp, name, phone notifications. And let's go with controller. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. So the user will submit an action queue. All right, we'll submit an action to the action queue. Say action as well. So an example would be now, whatever. And then it will be move. And then my picks. And then controller will be, I don't know, CD Robot. So what'll happen is the CD Robot controller will be querying this database to see if there are any instances that match it. And then if there are, it will get the action and then execute it, and then it will clear this line. And because this should be controller ID. Controller ID. So because each controller ID will only exist once, and that will be a separate process or a separate async IO event loop or whatever. Yeah, same thing actually. It will be sequential how it handles these. Yeah. All right. So we'll have action add self action name controller underscore ID. This is basically my version of a stored procedure that I'm doing here. So we will do a database modify query. So it'd be this plus this. Boom. It'll be insert into action underscore queue action name controller ID. And then action name controller ID. And then the deconstructor will disconnect the database, and that's good. Okay. Then we could also do action check with controller ID. And then that is a lot of subwoofer. Good Lord. Call sub. don't think we need to await anything. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but holy moly, that's ridiculous. So we will select action, name, controller ID from action queue where controller, we don't need to select controller ID, where controller ID equals controller ID. Alrighty. And then just return. I think I had a, I made a thing here to, yeah, db to dict this. Because there was something about how this gets a little weird. So we're just going to wrap that and then return it. That'll work. So then when the controller checks if there's anything here, it can use this. And then that can be like an async IO task that keeps calling itself. Yeah. Yeah, I like this. Okay. All right, we need a template. Template. And then, oh, they're doing more. Cool. Hi, thread test, web. Let's rename this photo. And then templates. Boom. We're just going to use page.html, whatever, it doesn't matter. Open with Kate. Okay. So index sends page.html. This will be photo.page.html. All right. Now, photo. Let's figure out config file information now. Okay. So, how do we want to pass configuration information? Because this is the whole sticking point of PyDiskRip. Do we want to make a database for the config data? Which seems slightly ridiculous. But probably just should be. Because what I'm going to have to do is on page, we're going to render template with data. Data is going to contain the configuration information for the UVC photo stuff. So basically this data equals, for right now I can kind of like hard code it and be lame. But I don't know quite how I'm going to want to do this in the long run. Would there be a general best practice way for how to like access this from multiple locations in the same program through, well, I was going to say through async IO, but that's the easy part. The difficult problem is doing it across processes. because I don't think that'll work. I'm starting to hate this subwoofer guy. So in this case, data represents, actually we need the camera information because we need it per UVC endpoint. So UVC ID. Let's just assume we're going to force that to be required for this. 0. Oh man, how do I do this? So we need this to be accessible. Yeah, yes. I think I'm going to change how I use blueprints, actually. That's kind of annoying. I didn't think I was going to do that because I'm thinking using this kind of syntax where I have a function that wraps it might be smarter. Because what I want to do is I want to add routes to blueprint dynamically. But I don't know if it's kosher to do that in the plain module file like this. I mean, maybe it's fine. I'm doing other crimes like that here. Maybe I don't have to worry about it. I just do it. So it'd be something along the lines of let's just say here for camera. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to video route. I'm going to look at this, and then I'm going to steal the lame app routes that I do here. Boom. For camera, BP, add rule, camera, and then it'll be plus camera UVC underscore ID. Or does this work at all? I can't supply a parameter to the function that it calls to do this. So I don't, unless I can read the app The URL. If I can read the URL, that might be fine. Let's look that up. Flask get request URL. Base URL. So if I just do path, then I could get the end, and then I could figure out what the camera was from there. So take photo, def, take underscore photo. Hello, RF programmer. I'm debating whether or not I should even be continuing doing this software, because it seems like it is a boring topic for most people, or it's just difficult to have a conversation about software development. I don't know. I can't tell. I genuinely do not know if it's a good idea to keep doing this, but if I don't do this, I can't realistically use the CD robot, so I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what I want to do right now. So we from Flask import request, except this will be Quart, which we probably, yep, already imported. So it'd be request dot path, I believe. Maybe you need an intern. Yeah, there are many problems with that. One, I'd have to find an intern who actually knows how to do software development instead of just asking AI how to do it. Two, I would have to be insured to have an intern. I don't have that capability. All right. So base URL. If we do, just for kicks, Python 3, path equal, you know what, p equal, this is a path 2, all right? So p equals that, and then base name, p, base name is not defined, import os dot base name. Fine. Is it sys base name, os path, path dot base name? There we go, path 2. Okay, so we can do that to get the final end, and that should be the UVC ID. So UVC underscore ID equals that. And then check if ID valid. Take photo. Okay. I still don't know how I want to get the camera information into here, though. Actual config data should be read-only. So maybe it could be passed. And there is a weird quart flask thing that we could take advantage of to get to it in all of this. I don't remember exactly how you do it, but Flask database. So it's something like flask.appconfig. Yeah, current app.config. Okay, so we import current app. Yeah. And then config. So we would do quart current app. And then what we can do is pull the config data from this. Config. This is valid. So if we put it in there, which we would do from this point, so we would pass config data here, and then under app run, we would store this somehow. So web there, app process or app task. So this is all the web host stuff, but then we need the actual config data. This feels like a dangerous way to go about this. Well, let's think about this. So for actual PyDisk rip, main is going to start a process for each controller. It will be able to pass the config data to the controller, and it will have to pass the config data to the controller. There's no choice in some way. And then the controller reads it once and sets everything up. So I guess if this reads the JSON and then passes the data as a parameter to these, that's fine. Yeah, I think we'll have to do that. I'm still slightly toying with the idea of maybe trying to do it all in one event thread. And then async IO wrapping tasks. I don't know. Because technically, it would still be possible to do it this way, where everything is in one event loop. And that might be easier in some ways. I don't know. We'll keep working towards this and figure that out. All right, let's add the ability to read a config file. So let's finally import parse args, because I don't think we have that at all. No. Okay, arg parse. That's the one. this is Quart or async web demo. Async test for interacting between different, I can spell different parts of Python code. Oh my gosh, this little tiny little bug driving me crazy. All right, we're just gonna do this for now. Config JSON config file. Okay. Then parse. Am I not actually using a config file? I gotta be. Config somewhere in here. Is it way up the top here? Args config, load config. Here we go. Config. Okay, if config file is not done and blah, 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 blah. And by args, it's self. And by config file, it's just config. JSON file args.config. Okay, now this is config underscore data. And config data equal none elsewise. All right, here's where this gets messy. Because now I want to pass this to everything. Because we could put the name of the database in here, or the file that we output for the database. We could put the camera configuration in here. We can put like so much stuff. Yeah, I think we have to do this. Oh, that's good. We won't do that yet. I'll implement that later. But for right now, this does have to be passed. So let's go back to this and then config dot config app dot config equals config data equal none. Config data equals none, and then config data and then we'll just go ahead and set this as a named parameter. That's what it is, because that's required. Okay. Now we define our data structure here. So we're not going to do the full crazy ridiculous setup with controllers and media stuff here. This is just going to be very basic. So let's define the camera stuff. So actually it's just this. Let's go with cameras. Boom. And then this would be a list. Why do I gotta put the comment thing so far up? Okay. If cameras in current app config for camera in current config cameras, then we do blah, and that works. And then up here, if cameras in thing for camera in cameras, if UVC ID int, actually it's just int this. No, not that. Dot replace camera with nothing, and then we can int that. If UVC ID equals UVC ID camera, we do take photo, get photo, and then a whole bunch of parameter nonsense. Software is like slow and difficult, and you got to take your time and think about it. I guess it doesn't help that I'm trying to methodically untangle a giant mess that I've made of software, and I'm trying to think ahead for that. Guess I need to figure out timestamps. I still want to complain that it's very annoying that ISO 9660 timestamps are not file system compatible names. It's always great fun. Not great fun. What's the other one? Yeah. Python timestamp. It's always really annoying because they always want to do, you know what, we're not doing this. I'm going to go to PyDescript because I'm tired of the recommendations for that always just being a Unix timestamp, which no one wants to look at. No one ever wants to look at a Unix timestamp, ever. Not a thing that people want to look at. It is the world's most meaningless number. And no, I didn't want to open that with a complicated thing. I forget why I ended up not liking this. Oh, because it hates async. That's why. And that was the whole point of what we were trying to do. Anyway, this is what I want. Okay, so output equal blah F. I guess I escape this. No, I don't, because I put it in a bracket. Dot JPEG. Gotcha. Dot JPEG. Okay. I'm going to do this. UVCID equals camera UVCID. And I'm just going to grab the rest of this. Photo, color, crop, options. All right. So that should work for that. We're not going to be able to test because I can't implement the rest of this in the 2 minutes that we have. Ugh. All right. Genuine question. Do you guys want to continue this? I mean, I'll say this. I don't really have a good, solid plan for what I'd be doing elsewise because I am, like, stuck right now for video stuff and other things. But this is... I mean, I can use the CD robot without doing this rewrite, but it's a problem to use it because every time that I've tried to do a queue of disks, I've made one mistake that has caused all the offset errors for renaming, and I cannot fix that easily. And this won't solve the offset errors happening, but with the rewrite, I will be able to design the software in such a way where the renaming would not be as big of a pain in the butt. But it is going to require so much work. At this point, finish it? Yeah. You don't have to do the coding stream on stream. That's the thing, though, is that I can't do a bunch of work on stream that's something else and then go do more work off stream. That's a different thing when I'm already, like, doing video stuff off stream as well. So there's only so many things that I can tie into off stream time. And streaming is supposed to be long-term projects. Eventually, this is going to get into the more fun stuff. We're just in the really boring architecture design part right now, where everything is conceptual and it doesn't actually do anything. It's just structuring nonsense. This is the bureaucratic part of the software development that no one really likes. But if you do enough of it up front, it makes the rest of it down the road so much better. So maybe I do just push through this, and then we have more fun stuff on the other side. Yeah. Anyone who wants to understand why I'm going through this effort, just go look at the media reader file in the handler folder of PyDiskRip and you'll understand. Just spend like 3 minutes trying to read and understand that file and you'll get it. That's the whole problem. It's basically that one file. Long-term projects kind of suck for streams. You should alternate between projects. Think about MakerBot. The MakerBot sucked because I knew the entire time that the MakerBot was going to be garbage by the end of it. Like, it's not like, you know, trash, I'm going to go throw it away, but I would never use it. The whole point of this is that I'm getting something good out of the end of it. Same thing with the CM153. Even though I don't actually, like, use that all the time, I got something good out of the end of it. So I'm going to get something good out of this. I don't mind that. I don't mind doing the streams. But it is a much more boring topic, at least currently. So we rewrite the robot firmware so tossing disks. Where's your MakerBot redeem? Never happening, because it sucks. Might as well have a throwaway Metcal and use $2 Harbor Freight soldering iron redeem, which also not gonna happen because I wouldn't intentionally reduce my effectiveness just for a gag. There's no reason to. Anyway, I'm gonna save this. I'm not gonna commit this and push it because I'm not gonna work on this tonight. I have, surprise, I got other stuff I gotta work on tonight. So I will not have time to work on this. I'll save that for right now. It's more representative of what the final goal is going to be. Yeah. Very impressed by modern 3D printer not assembled from junk. Who would have guessed? No, I'm just kidding, but yeah. All right, let's go over to the workstation, or workbench, not workstation. I said workbench as I typed it. Anyway. All right. At least tomorrow we're going to work on this some more. We'll see how everything goes. But yeah, I want to see at least some of this through to see how this is going to work. And we haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm actually really happy with how the Caesar worked with it today. I was not expecting that to be as good as it was. That was pretty darn jamming. So I need a little bit more time with this, at least, before I make any decisions about continuing with it until we finish the whole thing, which is, so, rep pro Fisher, by comparison, is very jank. That going in, Frank gave it to me, the bird, you'll spend more time coaxing into working, you'll actually spend printing with it, yeah. So that was me with the ANET at first, that you don't even see anymore. That one, I spend more time sprinting over in panic, trying to wiggle the connector for the sensor. So, can I have a clean office redeem? No. Because this is project still in flux, so I can't actually undo any of this. This is just not what we're streaming. So, ANET, I spent a lot of time up front tweaking and tuning, and I'm very happy with how it works, other than the parts about it that are just horrendous just because it's an ANET. But yeah, once I got it dialed in, it was worth it. So anyway, you're no fun at all. I don't want to clean it all up, just have to pull it all back out so I can keep working. And essentially, here's what an office clean redeem or stream is, okay? It's me picking a thing up and then wandering off camera. That's all it is, over and over again. So, all right, anyway, it's time to wrap this up. I am gonna hit the wrong thing. Workbench? Why did it do that? That was weird. Anyway, let's go to the outro. There we go. It is so nice to have controls for this now. So, all right. Tomorrow we're gonna make it take pictures and we'll go from there. Here, yeah, I always end at the same time, Cody. My schedule's pretty darn predictable. But yeah, we will assess where we are tomorrow and decide what we want to do. Because yeah, I really do want to rip and archive all my disk stuff, but I don't know that it's actually practical to use how it currently is. And If I don't write the software, I will just never be able to do it. That's what it comes down to. So it has to happen. It just sucks. Maybe I shouldn't even consider not writing it. Anyway, that's it for now. If you guys enjoyed this stream, you may want to follow to be notified when I go live again next. If you want to help support the channel, you can find me on Patreon or get a shirt like this one. And actually, I'm wearing one of my shirts this time. That's it for now, though. I will see you next time. And now, I'm going to wait for the hand wave on the view, and then I'll press the button. But you're going to hear this long after, because there's so much delay. And there's the wave.